Hi everyone! I hope your Monday is going along swimmingly. Unfortunately, it's a little cloudy, so mine is not since I'm trying to swim every day this summer, and I'm always hoping for sunshine. Today, I wanted to create a video for you, not just audio, but also some examples of how you might begin writing a summary. So I'm going to do a video a day this week, and that's going to take us through summary with tips, models, or examples, like I said. And we're also going to, midweek, starting on Wednesday, have a couple of instructional videos like this one that focus on response and how to do that. So I want to give you some examples and some rationale, so some reasons why we do this. The first thing I want to focus on, though, as we get started is the assignment, which is a constant guide. So remember, each module is set up in our class very similarly. You always are going to have, and I'm actually going to our class now, in the Content tab, all of your modules. Now they're going to begin on the dates scheduled. You can see when they begin and end. We are obviously here in Module 2. Your module objectives are always listed here. You've always got a checklist that is a combination of completing, reading or viewing, often both, discussing, and then an assignment. So always the same structure. You always are going to have this detailed, get the background, definitions, and context. You're always going to have your discussion topics, one related to the text, the other related to writing. That's why I was hounding you last week, horribly hounding you guys, saying please talk about American Vandal in discussion 1 so that you can then begin to prepare for discussion 2, which requires you to post a complete draft of your summary. So again, these are the discussion topics. Then we get down to essay 1, the summary and response assignment sheet. This is your constant guide, and then you've got how you're graded. This is always going to be the way it comes at you, in our class at least. Other classes might be structured differently, but I want you to keep thinking a little bit about how this class is structured as you go. So that assignment sheet I've pulled up. I thought, let me click on it and it will come up for us again. And you can see important dates. I always have the basics. So this would be what kind of diction level. So is it conversational? Is it academic? Your audience. So to whom are you writing? And it's not always me, right? MLA format and documentation. You've got links to that in the course resources, standard English, and of course your length always, 2.5 to 3 pages. So we're going for word economy here, most definitely. In any case, I need you to have this close to you because I always give you the goals to reach, and then I give you tidbits of advice, how to proceed. And the tidbits are going to always be expanded upon in videos like this one, where I'm talking to you specifically about how to go about creating the kind of writing that we are working on in English 1102. Okay, so you need your assignment sheet. I'm going to go back to my presentation. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Sorry, guys. I hear thunder now. All right, so the assignment is a constant guide. I would always say have it in another tab, or if you're someone who needs to print things out, a couple of you've told me you are, go ahead and do that and set it next to you. I do want to talk just about part 1 of the essay today, the summary content. And notice what I'm saying to you here. In your own words, you have to encapsulate. So you're going for distilling. So not a blow by blow like you might hear during a football game from the commentators, but you are encapsulating what you viewed by highlighting major points and making certain that they're accurate and in your own words. So again, I give you a little more here. In this particular case, you and I have viewed a mockumentary that spoofs, makes fun of, true crime series using the tools or techniques of the documentary. So this must be something you grapple with as a writer as you formulate your summary. So as you revise and write and revise rather your summary. It is part of my test in this assignment, so I really wanted to just outline that for you and be very upfront that I am testing to make sure that you understand that there are a couple of things going on here. Yes, we have a fictionalized documentary in which 2 high schoolers create an investigative documentary because they are not convinced that their peer, Dylan Maxwell, is guilty. It is not just that story, though. It would be really disingenuous, I think you'd agree, to assume that we could only talk about Dylan Maxwell's story, because the story is not the story, which is interesting in a mockumentary. It uses a story, like a tortilla chip, as I say here, for the show's points. So the points would be the salsa here, which is an odd analogy, but I think it works. The tortilla chip is Dylan Maxwell's story, and it is covered by the genre here, in this case, the salsa of the mockumentary. I really need you to grapple with that as you're thinking about how you're going to craft your summary. The other thing to go through, is that words matter. Of course they do, but I want you to think about word economy as you encapsulate what you viewed. In your assignment sheet, I actually indicate that your summary should be no more than a page long. That seems pretty long, but when you really get into it, this idea that you have to summarize 8 episodes in some way, it can begin to feel very daunting because you don't feel like you've got enough space. So I want you to view each sentence that you craft in your own words as a kind of power pack nugget of information. And I want you to do that by using specifics, not generalities. And that's going to take some writing and rewriting and removing what I'm going to call powerless language. So to be verbs, unnecessary adverbs, and no editorializing. In one of your discussion questions, I ask you to editorialize. Just share what you feel as a human being, what your gut says. I give you some examples of how you could go about it, and a lot of you are getting more comfortable in doing that. But I'm really asking you to just talk about how you feel. I want you to get that out, though, because I need you then to focus on how to, as carefully as possible, be objective as you report what you viewed. Later on, we're going to be writing a lot about how certain arguments are presented, and even in part 2 of this paper, you'll be moving into that. But a summary requires you to offer no editorializing, so just the facts, right? You want just the bare bones facts, but you definitely want to include detail. So you don't want to offer your thumbs up or thumbs down, but you definitely need a lot of detail so that your audience who has not seen this definitely will get the point of what's going on. So 2 big ideas here. And here I'm getting more specific for you. I want you to strive to include the following: the title, italicized, the date of release or publication. So a summary should include the director or author name, the genre. So here then we're doing a mockumentary. And of course in this summary, you got to focus on what the spoof or satirized story is. And again, like I said, the story is like the chip that delivers the salsa in a mockumentary. The chip being Dylan Maxwell here. A little stale, I think a lot of us would say, and the salsa being the mockumentary, which is trying to do something to us. It's working on us or attempting to do its work. It has a design on us. You have to include the parts of the text and what is included in these parts. So again, here you've got some choices for organizing based on the text you view or read, but you have to strive for accuracy no matter the structure you choose to create. So you have to really know Dylan Maxwell's story. You have to understand what a mockumentary is and how the show works as a mockumentary. I say here no editorializing again, so no review or evaluative language. That will come later in our semester, but right now just summary and academic language. And here I've chosen this text on purpose. So we might use the word phallus or penis instead of do the dicks or cocks, because that would be conversational or even moving into slang. So diction level matters. So we want to remain formal when we're writing academically. I want to give you some examples of first sentences because then I want you to get started. And I want you to really think about what I've just discussed back here as you're examining these. I'm going to go through a couple of these, but I do expect you to go back because I'm posting this video for you. And I do expect you to go through and think, what's missing here? Or what has this writer missed when it comes to actually encapsulating, distilling what American Vandal Season 1 shares with us, right? So I'm going to go through a couple. And I'm going to kind of critique them, and then you might do the others, just as you're practicing and coming into more knowledge of how to write and revise a summary. So I'm going to read, let's see, this one. The story tells about Dylan Maxwell's vandalism of faculty cars. So far, this is true, right? That is in American Vandal. Mrs. Shapiro, the Spanish teacher, sets him up, and he is found innocent. But he does end up being a vandal after all, showing that if you are seen as a criminal, you become one. So a few things are missing here from the beginning. Instead of the story, we need the title of the show. We need the date. We need the directors, right? We need the creators or the authors. We do have the idea here that Dylan Maxwell has committed vandalism, but we really need this writer to indicate that this is not just what the show is. It's not a true crime documentary that you might see on A&E or Investigation Discovery. It is a mockumentary. So this first sentence that this person offers up, it actually doesn't even acknowledge anything but Dylan Maxwell. I really need you to work on that. I do want to focus on this one here. The mockumentary American Vandal, created by Dan Perrault and Tony Ascenda, satirizes popular true crime series by using common tropes. You learn that word in your Get the Background. Each of the 8 episodes depicts an investigative documentary directed by student reporters to tell the fictionalized story of Dylan Maxwell, who is accused and convicted of vandalizing faculty cars by painting penises onto them. The reporters, Peter Maldonado and Sam Eklund, deconstruct the school board's case and, using crime documentary tools, argue for Dylan's innocence. Look at all the information packed into these first sentences here. Title, date, creators, directors, the idea that it's a satirization, the idea that there's 8 episodes, that each of them offers up some aspect of a crime documentary, and of course that it's a fictionalized story of Dylan Maxwell. So I really want you to notice how this writer begins by hitting all of these points. I mean, this is a power-packed nugget of a beginning for a summary. Do the test using the techniques I share here and the first sentences here. Go through and do this test. Think about what's missing or what is there or how you could revise it. It's a good way to practice. Now what? So let's say you've got power-packed initial sentence or sentences with crucial information that kind of sets the stage for the remainder of the summary and showcases your understanding of how this show's genre seeks to, as I said before, work on the viewer. Now you kind of need a structuring principle, so I want to provide you with a few options to do that. And so I give you 3 here. First is the episodic structure. Come on, baby. Okay. And I actually kind of give you sentences, examples of ways you might go about structuring your summary. So you could go from episodes, and the first 3 episodes, and episodes 4 through 6, and episodes 7 and 8. And then these are guiding sentences that you would then follow up with details. You could be character driven. So Dylan is investigated first. Then they begin to investigate other characters like Shapiro, right, comes in, Trimboli, which I think is the most hilarious part of this. And then Peter, who has to do some thinking, this writer kind of shares at the end. So character driven. The last would be satire centered. So really focusing on the way that the show satirizes using the tools. That's an important thing as well. These are just examples of how you might structure your summary though. So I want you to think about these, maybe choosing one of them for yourself as you're putting your summary in your own words together. So this is kind of like the logos appeal that you might utilize, right? The structuring device. It's your turn now. So use the assignment sheet as a guide. Put it next to you. Have it around. And the tips and tricks here, I want you to compose or revise your existing summary of American Vandal. I am always in this class an email away for help, and I'm going to return tomorrow with more summary talk. On Wednesday, we're going to begin thinking about part 2. And finally, be vigilant. We've got so much to do, and I need you with me each step of the way, so that's why I'm kind of haranguing you. Hang in there with me. Log in every day. Respond. Ask questions. Above all, work. Work hard.